it's been very encouraging, because that's one reason I talked, is where I kind of live in a small town, but there was like nobody to talk to. Hey, I think I'm seeing extraterrestrials. I'm being taken away at night. Hey, I got telepathy. Hey, I have past life memories. You don't really say that in the Black community as much. That's something that's becoming much more prevalent now, which is beautiful, and it's happening through mainstream, through cyber communication. So I don't have to just be isolated in the country. I can talk to other brothers that have experienced stuff. I say this because I want other experiences to understand something. If they're anything like I was, I mean, my contacts and experiences did not conform to modern ufology or new age stuff or religion. Okay. So that kind of left me kind of just out in the middle going, all right. God, I guess I'm supposed to show this. This is a being that first came to me when I was a child. The first, I guess we call him extraterrestrial, that revealed himself to me. It was on a ship, actually, and his name is Xandar, right? And Xandar is, everyone said, oh, it's a mantid. He is not a mantid. That was made very clear to me. He looked much more like a cross between a grasshopper and a locust. That's Xandar. Behind him is a star system that we've termed a Bell 2256. It's 900 million light years out. He said he was a space there beyond nanospace and the exospace-time continuum. He was the first one to tell me, you won't understand when you tell me where I'm from, because it doesn't fit the parameters for life anymore. So that's one. All right. Yeah, he's very old. I can tell you that. And we're connected. I mean, immediately he stepped forward and I knew he knew me. Like I've known him for lifetimes. You know what I mean? Definitely a scientist type. He had human proportion limbs also. And his eyes were milky, looked like milk almost, gray milk of a type. Like, this is another one right here. And this is, I think, is a good one. This is Mana, okay? Mana is amphibious and is from the multiverse. He's about 8 feet tall, I'd say. They have the unique characteristic of looking like their brain is on the outside. But when I take it to our planet, it looks much more like a cross between armadillo armor and fish skin, patterned skin. But it looks very much like the brains are on the outside. Anyway, that is Mana. And yeah, but I didn't understand, like when he's communicating with me, he's telling me weird things like, well, if you can understand Star Wars, Dr. Akbar. And I figured out who that was. That's on the Rebel show, on the Rebel ship. And I'm sorry, when I first started learning about the exospace-time continuum, or the multiverse as we call it now, I couldn't even imagine an aquatic planet out there. Here's another one. This is what I encountered, was an Andromeda Council Member, all right? And what's most interesting about that is she got the device, the healing device he has in his hand, very correct, if you can see it. It's got, it's a crystal, an odd-shaped crystal that has fiber optics coming out of it. And on board, on that crystal had certain symbols, ancient symbols, okay? And they were using that to up as they called it, let me get this right, the light quanta of my DNA, because I did not believe in myself and I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. So that's, and I mean, but they weren't experimenting on me. And this little guy, so they were about 2 feet tall. They were little. So that's an Andromeda Council Member. Only thing that's different is his eyes are a little more angled, I'd say. And his suit was white. There were white stripes, like a racing, white stripes going down the arms and the legs. And they could telepathically communicate with the ship without even touching it. And he said it had something to do with the fiber optics. And I will tell you this, one ship that I saw looked to be like a Pleiadian ship. The first time I had adult onset contact, physical contact, this ship showed up looking like a Pleiadian ship with a directional emitter on the top. And it went around the back of us and it started pulsing, and it turned into a crystal ship that looked similar to the original Superman. When he sent Kal-El to Earth, he sent him in this ball, stalagmites coming off of it. And this thing looked just like that, but it was joined like a molecule to two others. So it looked like a pyramid in that way. and it was pulsating light from each one. And how the heck are you going to describe that to anybody? If you even tell somebody you saw a UFO, they're going to laugh you out of the building. You tell somebody you watch Star Trek, they're going to laugh at you. But if you tell somebody, oh, I think I was on this ship and I saw it went from metal to like crystal stuff, that's not going to go over very good at all during birth. Well, you see why it kind of spurred me to keep my mouth quiet. Real quick, the last picture I'll show. This is Mana and the Andromeda Council Member behind the engine. Okay, and the engine isn't quite big as it would actually be if you could see it. But it's interesting about Christine Dennett Cassara is she drew this for me, and at no point did I tell her I encountered those two beings on the same ship. See what I mean? So yeah, these are for a book I've been trying to write. Cassara, Christine Dennett has done several sketches for me concerning my experiences. All right, this is an engine. All right, I'll try to show it. It's much larger. The crystals inside of it were about 9 feet tall. All right, and it looked like it was wrapped by something that looked similar to copper. Now these crystals that she couldn't get on here, but they emit like a pinkish type of yellowish light from inside, like a chemical bioluminescence. All right. Now when it gets activated, these crystals start spinning. All right, like so fast you can't see them, and it produces a light and a really deep hum. All right, a bass hum. Now, one of my guy that was on that experience is floating there, and he's telling me this engine doesn't just power motherships and legion ships, it can power small planetoids. And it also, the sound it produces, it also can heal human flesh, not just the astral body. I was a kid when I saw that engine, and I didn't know what the hell to make of it. You know what I mean? I could tell you what it sounded like, what it looked like, and how big it was. When I look at our science now, they have something called quasi-crystals, which is really a new way that they're growing new crystalline lattices, all right? And they're capable of doing things that are different. We have very few natural occurring quasi-crystals here on Earth.
I was born and awake, at a very young age. I was having things we call past life memories. And, it very much started conflicting with things you're learning about in elementary school, especially. They give you a certain kind of history there that is not the things I was remembering from the past, from way, way back in the past. Okay, so things kind of started from there. And at a very young age, I think as a lot of us do, we're kind of born awake. And the more we're around people, we kind of start getting programmed to a degree. Our perception starts getting molded to where we can deal with the third dimensional world better. But some of us, our third eye doesn't close. So I could see other beings, and then I started having what we would call extraterrestrial contact or interdimensional contact at a very young age. Things like waking up not in my bed at night, or being in a school working with objects and things like that. You know what I mean? That were definitely tangible for me, but I couldn't prove them to anyone else. So I didn't talk about it. You know what I mean? Or some of the strange people I would encounter sometimes, that seemed to disappear when the adults would come around. You know what I mean? Things like that, but I wouldn't relay that because it makes you question your own sanity to a certain degree. But another thing I had was telepathy also. And a lot of people have that and they just learn how to shut it off. I wasn't able to do that. So that, makes you really uncomfortable with others to a certain degree, if that makes sense. Not that you can read everything in a person's mind, but some of the things on the surface come off very clearly. As a child, most of the contact I had, I couldn't prove as real as it was. And there were facts that were definitely relating to this was real. And when something happens in your waking consciousness, you know it. All right. But nothing bad was happening to me. All right. But yet I couldn't prove it. So I started requesting for a more tangible contact, meaning I started projecting my telepathy. I tried to manifest the encounters himself. That didn't always work. All right. In fact, the more I reached out like that, it seemed like the contact experiences themselves diminished. So until I got older, all right, 19, and they became physical, like I requested. But it's years later, all right. And then when this happens, I start having these encounters in waking consciousness with somebody else with me, but we're seeing these ships. And suddenly you look up after witnessing these ships, you're missing of hours of time. But that is a total of about 21 hours of missing time. That's a lot. How these encounters happened was very positive, and although there was missing time, I didn't feel anything bad had happened to me at all. Just the energy that was residual after the encounters themselves was proof of that. And it was always a love type of energy too. For me, I'm pretty sure that they were attempting to contact me when I was just in the crib even. It goes that far back. In our culture, honestly, we get dogged out enough if we even watch Star Trek. Don't say, "Oh, I've been on a couple of ships, and some of the beings didn't have bodies." One thing to remember is that many of these beings can actually bend the space-time continuum to a certain degree. So 4 hours of missing time for me could be weeks in that way. That and the vibration in which these contacts occurred on made the retention of memory hard. When I had first this happened, I'm missing this time, and somebody else was with me. I start really trying to research and find out somebody that's had something similar to this happen, and especially more to the point, somebody black. And I couldn't find very many, almost none, except for Betty and Barney Hill, who everybody knows about. Barney was black, and he got jacked over a little bit, the examinations and all. I kind of look in the mirror and go, whoa, but I knew that my contact wasn't like that. But nonetheless, I couldn't quite remember it. And the amount of telepathy and telethought, like thought transfer, the thought transference, and it's continuous when you're in contact with them. But the retention of the memory of them and the distortion between the dimensions, like I will say this, some of these craft that I was on, the outside and the inside are not in the same dimension. So the outside of the craft is here in our third dimension, but the inside is not. Some of them are a little larger on the inside, but some of the rooms are almost moving around you as opposed to you trying to move to them. A certain mist there, like too much nitrogen in the air. So I often listen to other experiencers when they say they're walking around those ships and they're just everything's normal. And you probably weren't dealing with the beings I was, because the one I was dealing with, I wouldn't have been able to survive there that long. So one of the reasons I wanted to come forward is to get other Black experiencers to come forward and talk, and melanin-dominant experiencers, and also people that have experienced Black extraterrestrials and melanin-dominant ethnic experiencers, as I have. I've a group of one that was that, right? So I wanted to know more of that. Well, one thing is just I don't want everybody to think that it's all negative, the prison planet thing. I don't mean it like that. There's definitely some light here. We've got so many people that are doing not just what they call light work, but are good people trying to spread love that never make it to the media. And that has to be focused on a little bit. And the fact that we do have a chance to ascend out of here. You know what I mean? Not everything is doom and gloom. Yeah, people can get a hold of me through Facebook. Just my name, Barry Littleton. If you send me a friend request, if I can see some of your pictures, I don't get a bad energy. I'll most likely request. And I'm trying to communicate with people, but I'm finding that it's really hard and I'm falling behind. Or on YouTube, Night Cloud, you can type in Night Cloud and Barry. And I've got a YouTube channel I started probably about a few weeks ago. And there's some few videos on there, the interviews I've done, and also just some things that are connected to experiences that I've kind of had that I can just verify that have some validity. You know what I mean? Try to keep it real a little bit and more tangible if I can. So we all just have different experiences and we're making a tapestry. You know what I mean? There's no different of any way. It's just you bring things to the table I don't know about, don't understand. That's just how it makes this whole thing work. And then it presents a tapestry that the whole community is putting together that's involved with this. It gives me hope. You know what I mean?